Welcome back. Almost every major Democratic presidential candidate now has a detailed plan to combat climate change. But will they make it a priority if they become president? Of course, what does priority mean? Julian Castro, Kamala Harris, and Elizabeth Warren all released their climate plans this week after, they say, consultation with the former candidate, Washington Governor Jay Inslee, who made climate change the center of his now-defunct campaign. Without Inslee in the race, the candidate with the deepest ties to the climate change movement is actually billionaire activist Tom Steyer, who has spent millions of his own money through his Next Gen America advocacy group. Steyer has a multi-trillion-dollar climate plan of his own, starting with a national emergency declaration on climate change on his first day in office. And joining me now from New Hampshire is said Democratic presidential candidate Tom Steyer. Mr. Steyer, welcome back to the show.
Chuck, thank you for having me.
So I want to talk a little details of your plan, get right into it. One of the things you have said is on day one, you're going to use the national emergency powers of the presidency. In fact, this is not the first time we brought him up even on this show today. That's the powers he's using now to divert Pentagon money to try to build that wall. You want to use the same powers to combat climate change. And at the same time, you're trying to cajole Congress to give you the authority to do it. Explain how that works on day one.
Well, on day one, I would declare a state of emergency, which gives the president over 150 separate powers, the kinds of things to set regulations about how energy is generated, what kind of schedule we'd be on for electric vehicles, all kinds of rules that you can put in from the presidency to protect the health and safety of Americans. At the same time, I would ask Congress in the first 100 days to pass some form of the Green New Deal. But Chuck, what I'm saying is this. We are actually in an emergency that is threatening the health and safety of every living American and every American in the future. And I think Mother Nature has a schedule of her own. For 28 years, the Congress of the United States has failed to act on climate. I think at this point, Mother Nature's schedule has overtaken our schedule, and we need to respond. That's my first point. But my second point is this. We know this is a global crisis. The only way we solve this is with a global coalition led by the United States of America. That's what President Obama did.
I want to go back.
And unless we have our house in order, how the heck do we go to India? How the heck do we go to China? How the heck do we go to every country in the world, Brazil, and say, please do the right thing unless we are doing the right thing, unless we've made it a priority? Go ahead.
I want to go back to the presidential power issue, though. And I say this, I don't mean to fixate on it, but you said if you declare this national emergency, you'll have 150 separate powers. Essentially, you can decide to set the standards of you just brought up electric vehicles. Should the president alone be doing that? Or is this sort of, you're going to send an outline of what you hope to have, and Congress is the one that actually should be doing this? I'm a little confused here. Are you going to be declarative and set these?
This is the...
Yeah, go ahead.
This is the equivalent, in my opinion, Chuck, this is the equivalent of war powers for the president, because what we're talking about...
You believe the next president should have these kind of powers to do this. This should not be done through Congress. This is too much of an emergency to take out of the president's hands. Is that fair?
What I'm saying is this. I would give Congress 100 days, that's over 3 months, to pass some form of the Green New Deal. But what we're talking about here is a threat to the health and safety of every American. And the president's job as commander-in-chief, number one job, is to protect the health and safety of every American. I can also tell you, Chuck, as a businessman, that I have studied this for well over a decade, and I know that we can do this in a way that will create, my plan creates 46 million jobs. It is better for the economy of the United States. It is better for the wages of working Americans. It is better for the health in terms of clean air and clean water of the people of the United States. We have to do this. That's why I'm making it a priority. That's why I'm saying on day one, it's job one.
You talked about...
And so if you're not willing to do this, we are going to be in a situation where Congress's timetable is completely out of sorts with Mother Nature's, and you're risking the health and safety of every American.
Is there a part of the climate change plan of yours it does seem as if the public sometimes feels overwhelmed by the issue. And there's this sense of, you have the public now believing something needs to be done, but it comes across so overwhelming that there's almost, it's not clear where to begin. You are presenting it as almost as an overwhelming problem, because it is, and on one hand. But how do you sort of bring the country along to realize it's a solvable problem? At times it comes across like, oh my God, this is so enormous, I can't do anything.
You know, the truth is the exact opposite is right. I can tell you, I've studied this. I know what it's going to take to do this, and I know we can do it. I know that we have the technology.
Do people have to sacrifice? What sacrifice will Americans have to make to do this?
This is what Americans will have to do. We're going to have to take back our government. I mean, I'm running on the idea of a broken government in Washington, D.C., a government that's been bought by corporations, that there's been a hostile corporate takeover of our government in D.C. And I'm saying we have to restore government of, by, and for the people. There's no place where that's more obvious than in terms of the oil and gas companies and in terms of our energy policies and climate. They are calling the tune and risking the health and safety of every American. And I'm saying we need to call that out, and we need to act. We need to not only tell the truth, but Chuck, we can do this. I am highly confident that we have the ability to do this in a way that will make us richer and healthier and get us back to being the leading moral country in the world.
Are you asking anything of the American public? Are they going to have to sacrifice something, whether it's financial or some creature comfort of sorts? What is it the American public going to have to do to participate in this? What I'm asking the American people to do is to show up. I'm asking us all to do exactly what I'm doing, to recognize a problem, to show up, particularly politically, and insist on a solution. If the American people insist on something, we get it. And I think it's time for us to realize that if we break this corporate stranglehold and stabilize the natural world, we're in a position that's better than any people in the history of the planet. I don't mean to be interrupted, but apparently I lose the satellite window that you're participating in 15 seconds. So, Mr. Steyer, as always, sir, thank you for coming on, sharing your views. Stay safe on the trail there in New Hampshire, and I bet you we'll be talking again soon. And we'll be back tomorrow with more Meet the Press Daily. The Beat. Hello, YouTubers. If you're watching this, it means you've checked out our channel, so thank you. Now do me a favor. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there. Click on any of the videos to watch the latest interviews and highlights from MTP Daily and MSNBC. You can get more Meet the Press content every morning in the First Read newsletter. If you're tired of content that you don't know anything about where it came from, you don't have to have that problem with us. NBC News, MSNBC, MTP, and the Meet the Press mindset right here for you on YouTube. Subscribe now.